That would be me.
Look who we're hanging with.
Ryan O'Halloran.
Jason David Frank.
Humberto Ramos.
Please do not change channel.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for logging on and tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe. The way you can keep coming back over and over to hang with us and our wonderfully talented and creative guests in the arts and entertainment world. I'm Allison Murray, and right now we're in Fayetteville, New York, and we're hanging at the Fayetteville Free Library, hosted by Tainted Moonlight, Erin Kelly, and we are hanging with author Erin Kelly. Thank you so much for hanging with us.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. It's great to have you here.
Well, thanks for having us. So tell us about your books.
My series is a supernatural series set in Syracuse, New York, which is not too far from here. It takes place 5 years after there's an outbreak of a supernatural virus, and unlike most outbreak stories, instead of being like the end of the world, it just changes how we deal with the world because the government steps in really quickly and they quarantine those who are infected, and some people are stuck in this quarantine, but those who are fortunate enough to get out have to be sponsored by a human being. So it kind of deals with kind of the fallout of that for my main character, who was bitten by a werewolf.
Oh, okay. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Awesome. Who's your little friend here?
This is Corbin. He's my little convention buddy.
Nice.
So he likes to hang out, and he's my little token good luck charm for these things.
I like him.
Oh, thank you.
Reminds me of Fonzie.
Yeah, he's got a little Fonz vibe going on with the leather jacket.
So, what was your inspiration to becoming an author?
I've always liked writing. Actually, I think the first set of stories that I wrote were back in second grade, and I did these little picture books about a unicorn and a Pegasus that were friends, and my parents were always reading to me. I loved reading, but I kind of wanted more, so I started writing my own stories about that time, and I learned very quickly not to share them right away, unfortunately. So some stories got lost into the void because I let someone borrow the book that I wrote, and learned that very quickly, at least at a young age. But I kept writing, and I really enjoyed it. We would, with my dad, we'd go visit him over the summer. My parents were divorced. And when we went to go visit him at night, before we'd go to bed, we'd often tell stories, and he'd love to tell us adventure and scary stories. And a lot of that kind of translated into my own story writing, and started writing fan fiction without knowing what fan fiction was back in 5th grade. Mm-hmm. So it kind of grew from there and expanded, and finally came out full circle when I started writing this series. Because it just the story stuck with me, the characters stuck with me, and I really wanted to kind of expand that universe that was growing into my mind. And
nice. What do you find is the most difficult part about your writing process?
The editing is usually the not fun part of writing, but it's obviously essential. You want to make sure you don't have weird typos and things, or something weird. So actually, it's funny, when I just published my second book, and going through the editing process was a little smoother than the first one. The first one I actually took quite a long time to write and process. I did 10 rewrites and things like that. This one only had about 4 rewrites. So it's kind of nice, and other authors will say that too. It becomes almost a streamlined process as you get writing, and as you write more, you learn from your previous mistakes. Mm-hmm. Once you've built that world, you can kind of play in it a little bit more. You don't have to worry too much on the world building as much as you are working on the character development and things like that.
Okay. When did you realize that word had power?
Well, that's a good question. For me, I mean, it's kind of growing up with writing and loving reading, like I've always kind of known that in the back of my mind, like that's something that's kind of been there kicking around. But really when it kind of came into light for me was actually when I started reading the Harry Potter series of all things. Like I love things like Stephen King. I love Kelly Armstrong, Carrie Vaughn, a whole bunch of authors that do supernatural and scary and horror. But of all things, when I started reading Harry Potter, and I kind of noticed that as the series grew on and as it got darker and things like that, and the story became more poignant and it had this like more visceral feel to it, like the things that started to stick out, like you could relate to real life. Mm-hmm. That started to be like, okay, so word, like through this book, I've never thought about like things like she tackles things like human rights through house elves. So that kind of actually was some of the takeaway I took from that with my story is, even though it's a supernatural story, it does deal with human rights, because you have this fallout of what happens, how do we treat people who are sick? How do we treat people if there was such an outbreak, if things came to light that weren't considered human, but you're still human, but you're infected with something? And so it kind of, that whole idea of taking this, something that it wasn't even intentional, like this book I've started in 2002, so it's pretty, like the series I started back then, I had no idea it would take me to that point, and didn't make that connection until I started reading more into the Harry Potter series and kind of really looking at things and connecting it from the book to the real world. And I think that's when the word starts getting power, is when you start making those connections and you realize that this does have an impact. It might be able to, like, just like that book changed my mind on some things, maybe this book will change people's minds about something and hopefully make the world a better place.
Yes. Well, that's beautiful. Where is your most favorite place to go to recharge, get more creative, come up with ideas?
Ooh, yeah. Actually, I find my Zen place is swimming in the pool at my gym. Like, I absolutely love that. Kind of recharges me. It takes me, it gives me something physically positive to do, and I absolutely love being in the water. That's something. And then around here, it's like you gotta
do something.
Gotta do something.
Break that
Yeah.
cabin fever.
Exactly. So the gym, like, luckily the gym I go to has an indoor pool, and so I can do that pretty much year round if I want to. So that's one of the things I do to recharge. And sometimes just I even mentioned in my little biography there is just kind of kicking back and just spending some time with friends, doing karaoke, kind of doing something creative that's a little different. I'm also an artist, so sometimes if I get like writer's block, I'll go to my drawing and I'll start from there, literally start at the drawing board. So.
Nice. Was it challenging getting your first book published?
Yes. Yeah. It was definitely a process. I was learning a lot. I had some other authors help me, like author Nick Davis helped me a lot. He self-publishes through Amazon as well, so he gave me a lot of good advice. And just kind of, I did a lot of research. I looked into different author publishing houses and things like that, and it really, I research everything to death. So I mean, I've got the world's biggest collection of the good, bad, and terrible werewolf movies and books and things like that, just for my story alone. But then when it actually came to the publishing process, I also did a lot of research to look into it. But really, the route I chose, I'm very happy with. I've got a lot more control over it. I have I have a background in graphic design too, so I was able to kind of coordinate the cover. My first cover, actually, I licensed the photograph with a local photographer. Shout out to Everett Regal. Wonderful photographer, wildlife photographer around here. That picture is actually in City Hall. Without a wolf on it, but maybe someday they'll have my one with the wolf on it. There. But but yeah, just to kind of it took a whole bunch of not just my writing, my had a lot of help editing, things like that, and then just an actual publication process itself was actually relatively easy, but all the work that went before it and the research into publishing was definitely well worth it, though, really well worth it. And like I know I cried when I first held my book in my hands the first time, because it was just like
so rewarding, isn't it?
Yes, very much so.
So what's coming up for you after today?
I just released Captured Moonlight, which is the second in the series, so I'm really excited about that. Literally just came out the other day on Valentine's Day. And now I'm hoping to get the third book out by the summertime. So that's tentatively known as Infected Moonlight, so kind of going with the trend of the for the trilogy. Now, beyond that, I actually have a series planned. So the trilogy that I have is pretty solid in my mind. It's like if you were to talk about the original Star Wars trilogy, I guess. If you have your first 3 solid books that are setting up the rest of this world that I want to kind of develop and explore even more. So I'm hoping that through the trilogy, people will be introduced to this world and they'll be interested and stay on for the rest, because I do have several books planned after that.
Very good. Where can people find you and your books?
I am all my links are on taintedmoonlight.com, but I am frequently on Facebook. That's probably the number one place to find me is Facebook, and it's just Tainted Moonlight on Facebook. I do have monthly contests on there, usually around the full moon. So I do giveaways. I do like special things that you can't get that I don't have for sale. So like I have different things for that. I've got a lot of cool contests and stuff planned for the near future with that. And at author Erin Kelly on Twitter. But again, all my links are really on. I have an Instagram and other things too, but I'm not on those as frequently. So those links are on my taintedmoonlight.com, and the book's on Amazon.
Very good. Awesome. Do we have time for a game? We like to play games.
Ooh, I love games. Yes.
Girl.
Awesome.
We're going to play. How about we play Go Bleep Yourself?
All right.
Have you ever played that?
No, I haven't.
Basically, what we do is we just pick a card at random, and we fill in the bleep. We read it, and then we fill in the bleep with whatever we think.
All right.
We can do it 2 ways. I'll let you. You can either read for me, or we can read for each other.
All right.
You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah. So I'll read one for you, and you read one for me.
You want me to fill in your bleep, and you fill in my bleep?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. Okay, you want me to go first?
Sure, yeah.
I find bleeps so fulfilling.
I find, let's see. The children, we don't want to get demonetized.
Many.
Yes. Let's see. I find sleep so fulfilling. That's also chocolate. But
oh yes, of course.
All right. Nothing inspires hatred in my heart like bleep.
Oh dear. Harry's face is priceless right now. Nothing inspires cheating. What was that?
Yeah, nothing inspires hatred in my heart like cheating.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Don't like it.
Yeah, cheating is
bad news.
Yeah, not a good idea. Not a good idea.
Got time for one more?
Sure.
I know who my true friends are when they bleep for me.
Let's see. Oh, I know who my true friends are when they... Let's see. All right. My true friends they definitely they stick up for you. But let's
There
see,
you go.
they stick up for you no matter what. They support you, and they always got your back.
Perfect.
Well,
Well, guys, once again, we've had a blast hanging with Erin today. I'm Allison Murray, but before we go, we'd like to thank our partners at Krypton Radio out of LA, Famous Faces and Funnies, Off the Chain Radio with Yvonne Mason, Space Coast Comics, the Florida Book News, Birdfire Press, our great friends at Someone Unique Magazine, Asylum Convention and Entertainment Services with Heather Reed. These are the folks that share our videos all over the World Wide Web, and we hope you will too. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment, and let us know what you think of today's show and our guest. Remember, you can check our guest links below. Remember, subscribe, log on, and stay tuned to see who we're hanging with next. All right, Erin, that was fantastic.
Yeah.